Welcome back, everyone, to the LCS. Our next game of the day, which sports TSM versus an undefeated Cloud9. A quick refresher to everybody as we take a look at the TSM side, that it is their academy roster slotting up into the LCS for the lock-in tournament. And so I would say 1-1 on day one is a very solid start for them, but they'll look to improve one better here against a team that sits above them in the standings.
Exactly. I mean, as you kind of mentioned, you should be happy about this success because they played through mid. They did a great job. For me, the focus was on Hyper. Hyper on his Lee Sin. That was, even going into the first game, they were like, oh, I'm looking for the Lee Sin pick because he's so damn good at it. Hearing from this interview, he was also like, yeah.
I knew I'll play at that game.
So he gets the pick that he wants and performs on it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the other big thing for TSM Academy is I thought, so Hyper and Takeover work really well together. We had talked previously about Viper in the top lane and what his kind of stable pool of carries allows for them to do. And I want to point out the Corki rotation top because I also thought that was a really smart adaptation from TSM Academy roster that ended up working out super well for them.
Yeah, we talk about Viper's champion pool quite a bit. I love this tweet.
It's amazing. After seeing his interview with that too, it's just like perfect.
Yeah, but like
I love this kid.
It's amazing. Well, we talk about Viper's champion pool quite a lot, and the fact that he plays like Vayne, Corki, like he plays a lot of AD carries top lane, but it does help you a lot when it comes to the draft, right? Because you never really know where these picks are going. So. That's going to make it actually a really fun matchup going into Cloud9 because Cloud9's shown two kind of different faces in their draft, and then TSM as a squad, you never really know what Viper is going to pick, so it makes the counter pick. Or at least if they're on blue side, it makes that fun. If they're on red side, it makes that even more powerful.
Yeah, I do wonder, I know Cloud9 is approaching lock-in for practice, but if you were not approaching this for practice right now, I wonder just because Fudge is a top laner, if you pick Corki, they're going to pick Jace into it because he'll play at mid. If you just follow him around, right, and have more dynamic lane swapping, and one thing that I'm mainly focusing on for Cloud9 is just the development of Fudge and Blabber, because those are the two announced LCS starters that are being able to build up their synergy right now. And so far, Fudge has actually done pretty well, especially in the very early laning phase, which he said was going to be his focus and getting a good foothold in the game. And he's carried it on pretty well from there.
Yeah, I mean, he's talking about the matchup, so the fact that the meta right now around mid lane is, or at least, playing Victor in the first game and just being able to play champions that you just grind them in solo queue. And also, I've heard it, we've heard publicly that he has multiple mid lane solo queue accounts, just being able to grind multiple different matchups. So, it feels like he's ready. The Jace game is a bit of a cheat because you can play that in top lane, so he gets that.
Right. I mean, he's putting in work. He's putting in work. You know who else is, though? Sven in the 80.
Yes.
Right? And that's something we have to talk about. He had the Penta on day one of the lock-in tournament. First time we've had that here in the LCS. But beyond that, this kind of generates or restarts the conversation of the Cloud9 philosophy of better player plays. And is he going to start making a name for himself as a contender there?
Yeah, and then how much time do you give the new South Korean players that are coming in?
Right.
Exactly. And just because he got the pentakill here, and then I heard on cast that he'd had 6 LCS pentakills.
Yep.
It got us thinking who has the most pentakills, and Emily was able to find a big list. This list did surprise me a little bit. I thought maybe 7 was going to be the highest.
I want to point out that this is only major regions, by the way, that we pulled.
Yes.
There are a few minor region players that are higher than Doublelift, but yeah, Doublelift, Reckless, SMLZ, which kind of surprised me a bit.
Yeah.
And then Sven tied there alongside Pilot with 7.
Exactly, and so it's funny because when you're going through this list, Celebrity was out there with 11 pentakills, but a lot of that comes to a product of just very aggressive regions that have constant team fighting.
Yeah, Faker has 1.
Crazy.
Only 1.
Yeah, he was so close to that second
Three-time world champ.
He almost had it the other time.
I know, he's so close to doubling his career pentakills.
My goodness, my goodness.
I can't put spells on my team.
I would have been so mad if I was him in that game, honestly. So mad.
Well, we'll see if we can get another one here in this game today. Notably, a fair number of 80 carries on that list, which I think makes sense, especially when you get to late game team fighting, that they'll clean it up. But Sven did it on a Ziggs of all things on day one. So let's see what the teams want to go for. The Lulu is the first champ to hit the ban table, followed by TF for Cloud9.
For every single game, TSM Academy have banned Lulu, Karma, and Caitlyn in that order. I'm not expecting them to deviate from that.
I actually think we should see more Karma as the split goes on, just because I think it works really well. You know, theoretically as a flex, we're already seeing pretty aggressive junglers like Xin Zhao. You could see the resurgence of Olaf later on. Caitlyn being banned, that was the pick that I was looking for as a first pick. Now you're just looking at Jinx as the standing AD carry that you would want at first pick.
I mean, arguably, you could have called for Karma in the last game, too.
Yeah,
She's
true.
still up
Exactly.
with the Ezreal.
Yeah, true. I really like Karma Ezreal lanes for like the laning phase. They push it
Yeah.
so well.
So Thresh will be the ban, which does leave up that Jinx that you were talking about. We'll see if they lunge for the AD carry or if they go elsewhere. Viego, they want their jungler.
Okay. So that kind of probably just means that Instinct is willing to play both sides of that in the Aphelios matchup. He seems really comfortable on Aphelios in that pick, so want to see what Cloud9 does. They've shown two different faces here, and you'll like this one, Emma.
They're going the Jhin. Okay, so this is what I wanted to see if C9 were going to go with maybe something I'd seen a little bit more in the LCK. LCK absolutely loves Jhins. More specifically, they really like the Jhin Yuumi. So I'm curious to see if now that's what they ended up coming out with. But now Instinct has his choice of Jinx or Aphelios.
I'm interested to see if there's going to be a Leona lock-in on 3 for C9, just because already they have like pretty heavy scrap and engage with Jhin and Xin Zhao. So I want to see what that third pick looks like, but you know, see what the response is once TSM finishes their 3.
It's a lot of flexibility. I think the Jhin, especially when you have this many support bans, right? Caitlyn, Karma, Lulu, Thresh, is kind of a pick where I'm expecting Sven to win lane almost just by nature of having the Jhin. So, especially against Rel.
Wow.
Rel, interesting.
Actually really surprised with the Rel blind.
There's the first rally we had this weekend, right?
Very punishable, just in general. So like, honestly, it's a good idea from Cloud9 to go with a mid line, ban mid laner so they can get the best look there, and then just have a powerful counter in support. I mean, you can go towards Leona, you'd be fine with that. Rakan's pretty decent, but like, I would also even say, you know, Brahms and a possibility.
So I suspect we will see a Corki ban then in here somewhere, yeah?
I hope so.
Better.
It's like, it would be weird not to. Right. It would, like, if they don't ban Corki, it's because Fudge.
Well, unless you're gonna,
or Fudge just feels like he can take the matchup. Because I mean, Victor does push Corki early, but he's already off. Yay.
And also just remember, like, knowing that it's a flex there for Viper as well is a good takeaway.
Yeah, they're
so the Yuumi disappears in reference to the Jhin and that combo that you were talking about there.
Yeah, and I like that. I mean, it's a solid ban from TSM saying like, okay, we know that this might be one of the lanes that you want to play because of how it's been played worldwide.
Yeah, what almost always happens when a team doesn't match a role like this, so since Rel is locked in, is they're likely asking Isles, like, how many do you have? And he's like, I got 3. Like, you just need to have more than 2, and then even if they headshot both bans, you're going to be generally comfortable.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to what Takeover wants to pick here when he gets the opportunity in
Syndra, blind.
Syndra.
Well, not blind, rather, since they know the Victor's there, but it'll be Syndra, I have to imagine.
That's something you can go for. Just something that I think that would be strong working alongside Viego. I mean, for both teams, it seems like the heavy focus is going to be around mid lane. It's always been the case for TSM Academy in the previous day. So I want to see if Cloud9 wants to challenge that. They still have a counterpick top lane here.
I was gonna say, because I have more curiosity around top lane.
Probably Leona and then counterpicking top.
Because what does Viper take blind here?
It's a tough one. Man.
Chase!
Yeah, I was the first
and
one.
Then
that comes to
Malphite,
mind.
and then Gloss.
I mean, I suppose he could follow in Whippo's footsteps too and go with the Graves, right? If they can find enough. Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is they already have AD jungle, so it's kind of nice to be able to go AP, and we don't even know if that Akali's going.
Please.
There.
Yes!
Oh, they took it!
Our shot.
They took it!
go!
Oh, man.
Well, Darshan's gonna at least know this matchup. Like Darshan, just for lore, there is the Tryndamere enthusiast. Like before Tryndamere was popular, he's always the type of person to be like trying to push it because he knows the matchups for it. So interested to see what he locks in.
Is he just gonna play Scion again with a lot of armor?
It's possible.
Okay, Grog.
Gragas, okay.
Engage, a little bit of a tank option.
Exactly.
All right, how do we feel about the compositions as they've been completed?
I like C9's comp.
Yeah, same.
C9's comp has a healthy amount of engage, good amount of disengage with Victor, and Gragas, I think it works really well against Akali and Tryndamere. So I think TSM's going to struggle a lot trying to fight even fights versus C9 on objectives.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough.
Does TSM's? I mean, TSM obviously Tryndamere likes to split.
Oh,
Yeah.
there, yeah.
Ooh.
So we did kind of talk about swapping for a lane matchup. It was more in regards to who was going to take, if Fudge was going to take something more top lane oriented in mid, but.
All right. All
yeah,
right.
I
Well,
think C9 wins.
We're past that 20-second mark. The teams are done messing with us. The comps are locked in. We get to see our Tryndamere up there in the top lane with Viper piloting it. We'll see if it's enough to take down the well-rounded composition of Cloud9 as we toss it over to Flowers and Azeo.
All right, everybody, let's go. Game number 3 of the day. A classic matchup here in the LCS with TSM going up against Cloud9, of course. This is not the official LCS TSM roster. For those of y'all that haven't been tuning in too much the past couple of days, it is TSM running their Academy squad up here against Cloud9, who also don't have their full roster, to be fair. So I'm interested in seeing just how this one shakes out. A couple of very aggro champions picked for the solo lanes here for TSM.
Oh, yeah.
The Akali, the Tryndamere. Now, most of what I've seen in recent times of Akali into Victor, Akali gets lawnmowered.
Yeah. It has not looked good. It's definitely been tough, especially with you see Fudge is going towards the Airy, like really kind of indexing for lane. A lot of people are going Airy Scorch, and it becomes very, very difficult for Akali to actually, you can't contest the push.
Yep.
And then it's very difficult to all in past the minions. And even if you manage to hit an E, Victor generally just kind of drops the gravity field at his feet and says, okay, take it. And so it's definitely tough. But we'll see if Takeover can make anything happen.
Yep.
Had a pretty good game alongside Hyper when he was playing the LeBlanc. That's kind of really what he's known for. I'm also glad that Viper is taking some swings up in the top lane. You guys are underdogs. You know you're underdogs. You're an Academy team playing against LCS squads, right? So we brought out the Vayne against 100 Thieves. Now bringing out the Tryndamere. It's a bit of a different look here. Tryndamere is actually quite strong with the lethal tempo. If you can get that stacked up, it is really, really threatening. Gale Force seems to be the name of the game generally these days for the Tryndamere top, but there's a lot of kind of other options you can go as far as what you want to build alongside that. A lot of people do really like Navori Quick Blades. I've been seeing Essence Reaver get pretty popular as well. A lot of people are really liking that item, so just kind of run straight at him. Level 1, pray for a crit. That's the Tryndamere special, but with Gragas going Grasp, I mean, I think he's for sure going to go tank, but I actually expected him to go Phase Rush. Because that's generally what I've seen Gragas' play into these types of matchups, where it's like, he spins on you, you just proc your phase rush and you walk away. Because never in a million years, unless the Gragas is so far ahead, are you actually going to chase down this Tryndamere and kill him, right? So it's more just about being able to stay alive, wave clear, and have more of an effect in the team fights.
And that's something that I find interesting about Keystones, because you do have some of these Keystones, like Airy and like Grasp, that supplement your already existing pattern. It's just, hey, I'm going to play the same way, but now I deal more damage. But Phase Rush feels like it entirely changes the way that the trades can go, because of the fact that you can do a quick burst and disengage, as opposed to just, hey, I do a quick burst and now it's 5% stronger, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, maybe Darshan's read is, hey, I'm actually just going to smack this guy in lane. And if you think you can just straight up beat him in lane in the early stages, not allow him to get to that point where he's kind of running you over in a 1v1, then that's great. Maybe that Grasp is going to allow him to do that. But Viper, just making an early roam here, gets the push, wants to go see if he can find anything in that topside jungle. Doesn't find anything, but at the very least, they know Blaver is going to be clearing towards bot side, so Viper is just kind of chilling up on the top side. And you do want to maintain the push. When you're playing double combat sums, it's actually really important. If you're getting shoved in and you're forced to base, you lose so much. You really have to be lane dominant when you're playing this sort of a style. Otherwise, you just fall too far behind in the experience. It's really tough to play. And already, Takeover's having a tough time, but he's trying to tax Fudge's mana, right? He's hoping that Fudge's blue bar runs out before his green bar runs out.
Right. It's the same way that when people look at like mages being played in bottom lane, it's like the AD carry's not playing the health contest with the enemy mage, he's playing the mana contest, right? Run the guy out of spells, all of a sudden he's not really that much of a big deal anymore. And it looks like Takeover has whittled through most of that mana bar on the side of Fudge. Darshan's taken low there by the crit from Viper. Those Trin crits, man, early on, those things, not just early on, the whole damn game, they're so scary, but especially during the laning phase when you have no actual crit items and it just comes from the Fury and you're like, oh man.
It's a big deal. I mean, it can completely be game-changing. A lot of these Trin 1-tricks that you'll play against, you know, they are willing to go straight at you at level 1 because they know if they get a crit, man, they can absolutely change the course of that lane.
For sure.
You know, 1 crit, he hit him for like 150 there, right? That's an entire potion that's just gone now because of that 1 crit. So definitely is a pretty big deal. But Darshan, giving as good as he takes. You know, and the Gragas passive will keep you pretty healthy. I don't expect him to be able to die this early on, but Blabber moving up here to the top side, at the very least, will give coverage for reset.
Isles goes in after Instinct here in the bottom lane. They'll get the cleanse at the TSM AD carry. Sven takes honestly a pretty good chunk of damage back afterwards. Ursan's coming around from the side. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of follow-up here, but yeah, good trade there from Instinct in the 1v2.
Sven has a huge amount of sustain, though. Just popped his first potion, but he was sitting on 3 biscuits, using another potion there, so he's not going to be pushed out anytime soon. They have been kind of whittling down those resources there from Instinct. Takeover was getting bullied kind of, but really couldn't get pushed over the edge to where Fudge still had mana and he was too low. So he does get a reset. Very even here with Fudge in the early stages, but Fudge got kind of that dream buy that you really want from Mage. See, if you can make it to Lost Chapter, your laning problems with mana kind of just go away.
And as you can see on your screen right here, we're kind of witnessing why this matchup can be problematic for Akali. Every time she comes up to try to farm, even using the 5-point strike, it's Victor lasers Q1, Q2 over and over. Both junglers here in the bottom lane now. Instinct getting jumped on here. Blabber goes in for the win, becomes lightning, and the third hit is not there yet, but it's first blood Cloud9. Ursan's trying to get out. The follow-up is enough to force the flash, and C9 finds their advantage here bottom side.
Both junglers showed up, but Blabber making the bigger difference there as Instinct gets chased down. The W slow for Blabber was just barely enough to close the gap, and maybe they'll take out. Look at it all in.
Okay, Takeover's after it. Chaos Storm placed down. Takeover back into the Shroud, trying to get away from this one now. But this is the problem too. Once Akali commits everything, once both these ultimates are down, Akali now is stuck in that world where it's so hard to try to go in again because of the gravity well. Because once you take that E, there's not really a good way out without your ultimate.
Yeah, it's very dangerous. And every laser that hits him is going to mean he has got to be very, very careful. Everyone is hovering. Viper is here, Hyper is here, Blabber is here. They're all crowding around knowing when there's blood in the water mid lane, you gotta defend your guy. You gotta try to look for those kills, keep them in a good spot. Fudge goes for a little pull, so he's just kind of doing a little mini freeze. I expect him to push out though, because he's gonna want to reset as well. So Isles is just gonna come in, has the Targon charges saved up, help him clear this out really quickly, and then Fudge will just be able to get a reset of his own.
And honestly, I do want to give Takeover some praise here in the first 7 minutes of the game, despite the fact that we've talked about how this matchup can be so difficult for the Akali and how he wasn't able to find a kill with his all in there. If he picks up all 4 of these minions, he's going to be 1 farm off of the victor the entire time. So he's been doing a really nice job farming up here in this lane, making sure he can survive early to try to get to that late game Akali one-shot fantasy.
Yep, and he had a smart setup. You know, is Resolve secondary, very likely playing second win. He starts with the Doran shield, so not getting too greedy, just trying to survive. I have seen some different looks. A lot of people do like this build. Have seen some just like triple rejuve bead, trying to be able to sustain through it in that way. The people who go Darkseal, I generally see just get pounded in the early game. You know, you have to go for the more defensive options, but has done a good job so far.
Wow,
and we'll see what they can get done.
Nice and comfortable out there with that first blood money, making sure that he'll be off to a nice start here on the Xin. Meanwhile, it's TSM going for the Rift Herald pretty much as soon as it spawns. They want to be able to use this to get that influx of gold, knock down some of those plates. I'm curious where they're going to end up dropping it because it does not look like Cloud9 has any intention of contesting this at all. Blabber is on the bottom side of the map, so maybe they want to make a play around here. Maybe they want to make a play around the Drake instead. Akali also heading down towards this. Blabber's going to find Takeover there in the jungle. Hits him with the wind, becomes lightning. The sweeper means he knows where the TSM mid laner is. Takeover, oh, that was cheeky, but it does cost your ult.
Yeah, I mean, You just don't win that 1v1 against the Zen. If he's up on top of you with challenging smite, his ulti available, he's gonna die. So as soon as the W actually connects, he basically knew he had to ult just to escape. So having a little fun with it. Sven in trouble though.
He'll get away. He'll just walk that one off. Doesn't even cost him a summoner spell, but does lose half HP. Instinct with way too many chakrams for Sven to want to stick around and fight that at all. But Cloud9 will have control over this bottom side river, which means Cloud9 will have the first Drake of the game. That one goes down at 9 minutes, so not incredibly early, but still early enough to allow them to try to stack towards that. It will be the Chemtech Drake coming out second, so we're not going to get one of those new souls or new rifts here this game. Cloud9 is up about 1,000 gold over the TSM Academy squad. Up here in top lane, Viper's got a small CS lead, but Darshan's doing just fine dealing with it right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And his itemization is going to be comically easy this game. The only magic damage is Akali. Akali does not want to hit a 4,000 HP Gragas.
No,
so
she has no interest in such things.
You do not need to build any MR. Your Mythic is going to have enough on it to deal with the Akali. If you ever have to fight him, you just stack HP, you stack armor, and it is going to be really, really effective. You know how many auto attackers there are? You have Viego, you have Viper playing the Tryndamere, and also the Aphelios. So early tabbies, full-on Thornmail, Frozen Heart, Randuids, etc. are going to be incredibly strong this game. Darshan is going to be very, very difficult for this TSM team to deal with as the game gets later in team fights.
And you can see that mid lane wave has been shoved up again as Fudge will now take his opportunity to get back. We're seeing these guys just pretty much always be syncing up these recalls like this. 10.5 minutes into the game as teleports will be coming back online soon for Takeover and Darshan. We're getting to a pretty important part of the game here where they can use those teleports for a play now if they want to, but also if they choose to hold it, those teleports will become unleashed just about when second Drake of the game spawns, which could open up some big playmaking windows.
And you've got to remember, C9 does have double TP. It is just the one teleport on Takeover on the TSM side. And when you're playing against Tryndamere, as everyone who has played against Tryndamere knows, you've got to be sure that you're going to get a lot when you TP away from that lane.
Yes.
Because he is going to farm your plates, he's going to take your towers, and it can be really, really punishing. If you have a failed TP down towards bottom side, and TSM is able to disengage, well, Viper can really punish you up on that top side. So we'll have to see Darshan and his communication really be on point when he wants to join the team.
Back here in mid, it's Fudge clearing out the waves as the rest of the team hovers around this bot side river. They have the bottom lane shoved up already, so it meant that Sven and Isles were unlocked to walk around here, set down some vision, clear out some vision from their opponents. Hyper just trying to grab this chicken camp here. They have the control ward in the brush that at least Cloud9 won't be able to move up further and control that. As Fudge will group back up here with the rest of his team. He'll maintain priority over that mid lane. Crown of the Shattered Queen completed now too. Feels really good up against a champion like Akali.
Absolutely. There's a lot of going to be upfront burst here. And I mean, even if he has that available and your song goes for a flash engage, the follow-up damage in those initial seconds is so much lower. It really can make you difficult to burst down. Like seeing what Viper was doing as well on that top side. When they saw Blabber on bot side going for the invade, he just moved up and stole his Krugs, right? He's going to take it away. Anytime Blabber looks for a bot side invade, Tryndamere can easily farm that up and just kind of sustain through it. When the wave is stacked like this, though, and you're Viper, you know Blabber can be up on the top side. You want to play a little bit safe and make sure you have that Fury.
Ooh. Flash for flash there as Isles and Yurson both try to make and break a play. Sven with a nice root, at least forcing that to happen as Hyper shows up. Just going to go ahead and drop the Herald. Yes, they're not looking to get much more than 2 plates out of this, but they will get that guaranteed plate money. There comes your charge. Herald's down to 200 HP. Say goodnight. Instinct losing about half his HP there. Isles threw out the Zenith Blade, but with Hyper still hanging around, he's probably glad he didn't land it.
Yeah, Hyper though spending a lot of time down there, so they will actually lose the whole topside jungle. And there's potential to try to pressure Viper maybe off the tower or something like that. Of course, a full-on dive is very, very risky against Tryndamere with the ult available. So you're probably not going to look for that, but they at least want to try to take away as many resources as they can. Not feeling comfortable to actually go for that Gromp, but
I mean, there were a lot of people missing. If he sticks around to try to commit to that Gromp and gives away a free kill for it, all of a sudden you're feeling really bad about what was otherwise a nice sequence of securing the buff and managing to get something out of Hyper's presence there in the bottom lane. Anyway, it's still a 1,500 gold lead for the side of Cloud9. Darshan a little bit behind compared to Viper in farm, but as the tank, that's okay. It's not like he has to be leading all the gold charts to have that effect that he's looking for here in the team fights. Has the Bomby Cinder, already has that Randuin's Omen component. I don't even remember the name of the thing. Warden's Mail or something. You almost never talk about it, as Darshan and Viper trading back and forth here a little bit. Even with Viper having a couple of those big swings, Darshan is a tanky boy.
You know, I wonder if Viper, like, if he actually wants to commit to the 1v1, he might need to go Kraken Slayer this game. Even though most Tryndamere really do love Gale Force, you know, having the additional mobility is so nice. It might just be one of those angles where it's like, you just can't kill the guy. You need max DPS, you need the attack speed, you need the true damage, because Darshan is just going to be a brick wall, right? And it's going to make it very difficult to actually punch through.
Well, Blabber is going in with Isles, and they're looking for Yurson, and they've already found him. The Xinjiao ulti so effective at stopping TSM from being able to fight back. Takeover now trying to go after Fudge. The 1v1 here currently favors the Cloud9 mid laner. Takeover stepping forward, uses the ulti there to get himself back out. Throws down the Shroud to get some energy back. Continue fighting forward here. Fudge still has Chaos Storm. Takeover knows it and can't go any further forward as Cloud9 secure their second Drake of the game, and it's Hex Tech Rift here in this one.
Yep, gonna be one of those new ones. We do have the Hex Gates activated now. Gonna allow these guys a little bit more movement on the map, and I think especially one of the reasons I really like this when you're playing from ahead is you get access to some of these gates. Using this as kind of a defensive gate, as a retreat mechanism, you know, if you're moving into the enemy jungle here as Blabber, you can kind of just retreat back to this gate and go back to your side of the map. Otherwise, it just generally works as kind of like almost Rek'Sai's old ultimate.
Yeah,
like a little bit of a farm
I go
farm.
back faster.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of getting out to those initial camps. You can use them when you're coming out of base. Something that everyone should be doing because it does save you a couple seconds, but generally, I've found it pretty difficult to use the more forward position ones unless you're ahead.
I'm not going to lie to you, man. The other night when we were playing and we got the Hex Tech map, I completely forgot about the ones in the base entirely. I was just running my goofy butt all the way out there. Like
Scorpions don't believe in that sort of Hex Tech technology.
Exactly. I have a moral exemption from Hex Tech gates. I just can't use them.
Feel better with your little creepy crawly legs on the ground.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. I got my feet firmly planted as TSM are having themselves a pretty decent showing here up against the Cloud9 squad. Yes, it's a 0-2 score, but the game's not getting away from them in a crazy way. They're still only 600 gold behind. Viper's still feeling fine up here in this top side 1v1. You can see he hasn't shopped in a while, it looks like.
He
Still
must have
has
a lot of gold.
Yeah, he's got the Noon Quiver and the Greaves, and he's had him for a good minute here, as Hyper and Yurson are also both up in the top lane now, and it looks like Darshan's going to be kept away from that turret, or will he?
This is a hard
Steps
dive,
right
man.
back underneath of it. They're going after it. Darshan's the focus. Yurson's going to tank the turret aggro for now. Darshan with a nice body slam into a flash. He gets away. TSM could not get the kill.
I mean, your Tryndamere hasn't shopped, and you only have physical damage against an armor stacking Gragas who has shopped. At the very least, they're going to be able to get this tower. Very, very likely. They push him back. They do get his flash off him. They deny some minions. It's going to be Frozen Heart Rush here for Darshan. So going towards the CDR, he has the Frozen Heart, he has the CDR boots, has the tier as well. So he's going to be working towards that Fimbulwinter eventually. Likely going to grab his Chem Tank first, then go Fimbulwinter as third. But it's a really solid build here from Darshan that's going to keep him relevant in the side lane for a long time, unless TSM wants to keep overloading the side and pressuring Darshan off towers with multiple members.
Instinct goes for the ulti there on Aphelios. They'll find a root on both Isles and Blabber, but if they really want this fight, Takeover's coming around from the side. He'll look for Sven. He finds the E, but a teleport's about to show up. They're ready to bring Darshan into the fight now as well, as Takeover continues looking for the AD carry, but cannot get it. Fudge grabs the kill, 3-0 for Cloud9.
Takeover is taken down, and Cloud9 looking strong in this one. It is going to be Gale Force, and it looks like it's a PD second here. Potentially, I guess it could be, you know, Executioners going in for some heal cut. But Viper, you know, building towards that side lane. This is less about the 1v1, though, with the Gale Force. Gale Force not bad in the 1v1 by any means, but I think it's going to be difficult to actually really cut through this Gragas unless you can find a very extended lane and utilize that mobility. But what it does give you is when you're team fighting, you pretty much need flashes as the Tryndamere to be able to really go backline. But you can use the flash to actually get on someone like the Victor or the Jhin. They flash, you utilize the Gale Force plus your slow, the Mocking Shout, to actually really follow and then finish them off.
Plus, of course, once you get later in the game, if this ends up at that 4 or 5 item point where Tryndamere has those items you were talking about, like getting the Essence Reaver, getting himself that Navori Quick Blade especially, it's just spin, sheen crit, spin, sheen crit, spin, sheen crit. There's a lot of mobility as long as you can just get 1 or 2 auto attacks in there with it. As Darshan, again, is just back on contain the Tryndamere duty. Yes, he'll continue falling a little bit further behind in terms of farm, but as long as Tryndamere can't just walk up and take turrets at his leisure, Darshan's doing his job.
Absolutely. Gale Force, nice use there. He had already used the spin and had the body slam hit. Maybe Cloud9 catches up. Obviously, he doesn't have vision. You know, there's not really much going here for them on that side. So it does become difficult when you have no wards and this whole area is Tryndamere and you're supposed to be pushing up there. It's very, very tough. So we're going to have to see if TSM can kind of get over on that side of the map, get a little bit of deep vision so that Viper can have a little bit more freedom to try to push aggressively. Otherwise, I just don't see them getting much value out of this Tryndamere. I mean, if Tryndamere is just going to trade farm with Gragas back and forth, while Cloud9 take Dragons, you are just going to passively lose out on the game.
Well, we do have Takeover and Fudge moving their duel up here into the top side as Fudge defends the tier 2. Cloud9 still looking to get the damage they need to take out this tier 1 in mid lane. Blabber trying to steal away some chickens, but Viper's down here. Cloud9 disengaging this one. Mocking Blow is going to find the slow down onto the Cloud9 retreating players. Fudge has joined up in the fight now as well, as both he and Takeover have teleported back into this part of the map. It's Cloud9 with control over the river. It's Cloud9 with control over the third trait, and it's Cloud9 now on sole point 20 minutes into the game.
Yeah, I'm getting kind of nervous for TSM. It just doesn't feel like they're comfortable advancing the game state. You know, they're kind of locked in this pattern where you're just trading farm in the side lanes, you're trading farm in the mid lane, and you're slowly giving more and more of a lead over to Cloud9. The gold has been kept close, but this will be a very early Dragon Soul. You know, we're looking at a 25-minute Hextech Soul. That is a really, really powerful ability. Essentially the static Shiv proc, but the fact that it also has a slow is so nice for champions like Victor and Jhin, who already have the ability for that chase down. It makes it really, really tough to play out the game against them.
So I guess the question that I would have on my mind, hold on, never mind. Blabber trying to get away here. Gets back over to the Krugs. And now it's Cloud9 ready to follow this one up. Oh, Hyper's already down. Nice shot from Sven. Viper goes back into the fight. He's ready to go here with the Endless Raid. He'll get the shutdown on Blabber, but it's already a 2-for-1 going over to the side of Cloud9. Sven keeping this war machine running here with that Sven damage with that Jhin. Fudge takes out Instinct, 3-for-1 here on the side of Cloud9, and one of the remaining champions alive for TSM is a no-ult Tryndamere.
Yeah, and they could go Bear, and they're not going to go just yet. You can see the assist pings from TSM over to it, but they have a pink in the pit, so they know that it's not going to happen. TSM trying to make an aggressive move, perhaps feeling the game slipping away a little bit. Trying to make a play around that red buff, but they get punished big time. It's very difficult to fight against Victor and Jhin in those corridors where they have a lot of safety to free fire, and Blabber just took so long to actually get knocked down here. Hyper is coming in, Takeover is there, but Blabber does a really good job buying time, gets over the wall, uses the smite straight back to full health, and then the root from Sven, the stun comes in on top, and Sven, that last shot of the ultimate was beautiful, anticipating where he was heading. In goes Yurson, in goes Takeover, in goes Viper, but Viper's ultimate has to be used so early on because of the burst coming through from Fudge and Sven that really sent in retreat very quickly. And then Fudge just flash chase here onto Instinct, takes him down as well. Darshan can't find the angle and didn't quite have his flash to follow through. But it's more of a lead here for Cloud9. Time is ticking very, very quickly as the Mortal Reminder comes up for Viper, so he's got a second item, but Fimbulwinter's done for Gragas. He's going to be working towards another tank item here, and
he doesn't even have his Mythic yet. As soon as he gets the Mythic, it immediately gets the +2 other completed item bonus.
Yep. And those two items, Frozen Heart Fimbulwinter plus CDR Boots, is so nice. You just have so much cooldown reduction. You no longer have any mana problems because both of them are very, very mana heavy.
Yep.
So it's so tough to ever push Gragas out of a lane once he gets there.
Might as well be resourceless.
Exactly. You just keep making use of that passive, utilizing the heal with your W over and over and over after every single trade. And Darshan has just done a really good job being stalwart, not giving up much of anything in that side lane.
Plus, Darshan's Demolish Rune has actually come in super handy. It's been what knocked down both the mid lane and top lane tier 1s before TSM was able to get there to defend him. He just has what he needs to accomplish his job and his role here in this game. Obviously, you can see a lot of people happy to have Darshan being back, being the big man in the top lane here. And Cloud9 are feeling good. 3,000 gold lead, 3 Drakes to nothing, 90 seconds until that Hextech Soul comes up, that slowing chain lightning, the individual Drakes themselves getting ability haste and attack speed, which is pretty much universally desired.
Absolutely. I mean, it's useful across the board for sure. At least one of them, if not both of them, on pretty much every champion is going to be really handy. So definitely feeling good about this situation if you are on the side of Cloud9. And for TSM, I just feel like they've waited too long. You know, I think if you're going to play Tryndamere and you're going to play Akali, you need to at some point try to overload the side lanes a little bit more. We did see them do that the one time. They pushed Darshan off, they got his flash, they take down a tower. You need to see more of that side of play. If you're just going to have Viper farming permanently against Darshan, I don't think you ever get enough out of this Tryndamere pick. And you know, they haven't really committed the resources to push Darshan off of towers and put Viper in such an advantage that he can then take a 1v1.
And one thing I want to point out here is we're watching Cloud9 just move through and clear out this vision. Notice the way that Blabber clears wards on Xin Zhao. It's exactly the way you should be doing it. He hits the ward either once for a normal ward or twice for a control, then uses the Q to prime the first 2 hits to kill it. So if anyone comes up to try to contest him clearing that vision, he's got the knock-up instantly ready to go. That sort of little small decision-making can really be the difference between being set up to escape and set up kickoff.
Absolutely. I mean, it's really smart stuff. And you'll see a lot of the really good Xin players prep that stun, and then they flash in, they have the instant knock-up on carries, right? And that's how they'll team fight a lot of times. But C9 onto this Dragon. Isles is just zoning him out. They're going in.
Okay, oh no! It's already disaster for TSM. They lose Yurson. Flash is up, ulti's up, none of it matters. Darshan is not afraid of anything. He goes for an ulti, but Hyper is unstoppable and immovable when he goes for his own, so he'll at least be able to get away from Darshan's follow-up. But Cloud9 takes themselves that soul. Cloud9 is now bringing in Fudge as the backup to stop Takeover from getting away. It's hard for him to stay in the smoke, but he'll buy an extra moment. Now the boy ain't got no way out, or does he? Nope, Isles is right there with the enemy mid laner dead for 45 seconds with a Hextech Soul in your pocket. Baron's the play.
Get the soul, get the kills, get the Baron. TSM had nothing to say about it. They finally show up for that dragon, but they just had no way to actually take the fight. Yurson dies before he uses a single spell pretty much, and Darshan cannot be touched. I mean, look at him. He's dancing on him.
He's dancing as Tryndamere crits him for 5% of his HP. Viper immediately forced into the Endless Rage. The ulti has to be used to flee, but Instinct has no such luck. He'll be cut down next. Yurson's going right back into the black and white screen. Hyper's gonna join him here. Darshan can't die, damn it. Triple kill over to Fudge.
Shake that belly, big man. Darshan is having fun today. He knows he cannot be killed. Base back to full. He's gonna TP in, and Cloud9 looking to try to close this one out, or at the very least, take a couple inhibs.
I mean, Viper's pushing mid because he's a no-ult Tryndamere. He knows as soon as he goes into this fight, he will just die in the blink of an eye. He's trying to find anything elsewhere that might work as everybody on Cloud9 takes the Hex Gate back out into the jungle. It's time to regroup and prepare for what I'm expecting to be the end of this game.
Yep, it's looking really, really tough here. Here's the contest, if you even want to call it a contest, on the Baron. They know this game is pretty screwed if they give it the Baron, so in they go. Darshan, though, you just cannot hurt this man. Look at him. He's dancing. His belly's shaking. He's having a great time. They fully commit to him, but he flashes back out. The ultimate has to be popped immediately for Viper, but he's nowhere close to actually getting onto those backline targets that he really needs to get to. And the chase just continues. Darshan able to tank this up forever, taking some more time, doing another dance. Darshan is loving being back in the LCS, and it's been great to see him. One of the biggest veterans from the scene, one of the nicest guys you will meet, and it's great to see him performing at a high level here on the LCS stage.
I love seeing good performances from players. The only thing that makes it better is when they're hypey about their own play too. I love the attitude. I love the bravado. I love seeing it. And Cloud9 is just taking a stroll through the TSM base. TSM's probably got about one shot left in them. I don't know if they'll be able to kill even a single man on Cloud9, but it's about time to do or die. Nexus turrets now under pressure. Cannon minions applying the poke damage to those. Cloud9's gonna step up and take out the first one, and now they're ready to go for the fight. Hyper is already gone. Viper jumps into the back. He's looking for Sven, who flashes away. Viper needs a little bit more to grab him, but he can't quite get there. The gun to the face! And Sven stays going. Darshan finally dropped. He was the only man to fall over here in this fight on Cloud9's side, and only Takeover and Instinct are left standing for TSM. Instinct's trying to clear out the top wave. Sven's finally gonna die there to Takeover. Isles and Blabber still ready to go to try to deal with a mid laner. He's coming right back out, trying to stop whatever he can, but Isles leads the charge. 50 damage auto attacks at a time, the Nexus falls, and Cloud9 defeats TSM.
Calm, controlled game there from Cloud9, playing to their win conditions. Complete domination around that Dragon Pit. TSM never really got anything going here. They brought some unique picks, they brought some aggressive looks, but they could never find the openings there. You know, they bring in the Trinity, they bring in the Akali, but we never really saw the kind of proactivity and the aggressive play around those picks that you needed to get them snowballing, right?
Yeah.
You kind of just ended up with Trinity farming against Gragas, Akali farming against the Victor, and Cloud9 taking every single dragon. And that's just not a winning combination from TSM. I like them taking the swings, though. I like that they're bringing out some unique picks, because you're probably not going to beat, you know, an LCS caliber squad if you are an academy team if you just go full standard. So I do think it's cool that they took some different looks, but I would have liked to see more moves, you know, from Yurson, from Hyper up towards that top side, try to really put Darshan down, and then give you an avenue where you actually can split push, because that was the only time they really made anything happen, was that one dive. They didn't even kill Darshan, but at least they took the tower. Because beyond that, I mean, we didn't even see the Rel engage practically ever, it felt like.
Yeah, there were a couple of different problems, and although Akali was able to farm well against Victor, and although Tryndamere did maintain a few waves of advantage in terms of farming EXP over the Gragas, that's not enough to carry the game.
Yeah.
You can be winning, but not winning hard enough, and now because the rest of the map has fallen apart, because Cloud9, as you pointed out the first time when both junglers ganked bottom, it was Cloud9 who had a more impactful presence with their jungler. It meant that TSM had to find something somewhere, and it just felt like we never actually got that something that we were looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's tough, right? You know, Cloud9 played a pretty simple strategy, a pretty bulletproof strategy. They're going to draft a better 5v5 comp. They're going to show up for every objective, and you got to do something about it, right? And TSM just wasn't able to. You know, they as you said, were farming pretty well. It was less about the gold advantage. It's just about, like, what's your win condition with that comp? If you're going to be forced into 5v5, they don't really have much of one. As we saw Darshan having some fun. He was not really
was enjoying himself.
He was not under threat of dying, not
having
really
a good old time.
at all. And Victor is just much easier to team fight on than the Akali is, especially when you're fighting as Akali. You know, not only against the Victor, but also against Leona, who can lock you down and burst you out. It's very, very tough. You know, at least we got to see Viper almost kill off Sven, and that was kind of the idea of how you team fight. You know, you flash E, you Gale Force to catch up after he flashes, but he couldn't quite finish the kill.
Not quite there. Cloud9 keep their perfect record alive, though, and now it's time to join Latigris and Blabber for our Verizon post-game interview.
Thank you, Captain Flowers. Blabber joining us once again on the broadcast. The C9 jungler showing out in that game. In fact, it is a 3-0 thus far for Cloud9. How do you feel that you were all performing so far during this lock-in tournament?
I definitely think we've been playing okay, like decently well. I don't think we've really been tested. Like, I wouldn't say the three teams that we played were necessarily the strongest teams in the LCS, especially because two of them are their academy teams. So I'm glad we were able to do well and win those games, though.
In that context, are there any teams in particular, regardless of what group they're in, that you are looking forward to playing most in terms of a challenge in your idea?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think we're not like the strongest right now, even though we've been winning. I do think that us against 100 next week, even though they lost today, will be a better test, I guess. And I think EG and TL both are looking pretty strong.
Yeah, and obviously you have your eyes on the opponents, but you are a jungler that have always had your eyes on yourself and your improvement. Fudge had mentioned in the roster announcement how you're very open to new ideas and working on particular things. What has your focus been as an all-star jungler that is still striving for success?
I guess my focus is just you always have to be able to adapt. I think like you can't be stuck in like one state of mind that this is always the best because the game changes. It always changes. Actually, this year, jungle actually didn't get totally changed in the new season, so I was like low-key thankful for that because it gets changed like every year. But yeah, just working hard and trying to improve.
I know you're talking about adaptation in game state, but how is that adaptation affected by the roster changing around you, whether it be the swaps or even playing with different players at this point in time?
Yeah, I mean, it's for me right now. The experience is just playing with a new team. Like, it's not like I spent a whole year scrimming with the intended starting roster of a Summit Berserker and Winsome/Isles. But to me, like, I'm just playing with new players. Like, I haven't played with them before. I haven't played with Darshan or Isles before either, and I'm just trying my best to make it work with what we have.
Make it work, bring it all together, especially for the next game that you have within the group stage. I believe you're facing off against 100 Thieves, who did just suffer a loss to FlyQuest, who you beat on your first day. What are your thoughts on that upcoming game?
Yeah, I was very surprised 100 lost. I definitely think they're probably better than what they showed today, so I think our match with them will definitely be harder than our other matches.
Should definitely be a fire one for us to tune into. Blabber, thank you so much for stopping by for the interview.
Thank you very much.
For more on this C9 victory, let's head on over to the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Latigris. Straight from Blabber himself, fairly aligned with a lot of the preseason expectations when it came to strength of teams within the groups. 100 Thieves, Team Liquid EG are the expected teams, to be sitting alongside them. But it is, in fact, Cloud9 that is at 3-0 and leading their group, Group A, with 100 dropping it earlier. And they've looked good. This was another very solid game out of Cloud9, as Azale put it. Like, they're sitting pretty, and this isn't even their full roster.
Yeah, and it's looking better and better. Much like what Blabber said, they are going up against Academy rosters, which kind of sucks if you just want to be challenged, right, in this tournament. And I'm sure they will in the next week when they go up against 100 Thieves. But, like, I think they're just playing a better game. The vision control has been more consistent.
With the stats that we have up on the screen, I want to hand things off to Jap because Fudge transitioned to mid lane.
Yeah, so this is backstory. This was actually in preparation for like a sponsor segment, the Samsung Fast 5, where you do the
which is still coming, end of the day.
Fudge is currently rank 1, 2, and 3. And I think Blabber would be like rank 4, but the next closest mid laner there is Palafox with his mythic completion 2 minutes and 6 seconds later.
How is that even possible?
So one, I looked into it because it like jumped off the page to me. He has taken Futures Market every single game. And then Mythic is it's like the first thing he buys. So he'll do a starter item, which will be like a corrupting potion. I didn't check if like the really fast one was when he started with a monocrystal or something.
Yeah, right.
But I don't think he's necessarily doing anything crazy. But what I like is he's clearly doing something planned. And so he's not just trying to roll swap to mid lane and play off instinct. And it's taking some of the things he did top lane to mid lane. I don't know if this is just a Fudge thing. I think it's definitely more of a team thing. There's Max Waldo, there's Vagar, who's another one of their coaches. People meme about the like, oh, you go wave F, wave X, and you do this. There's got to be a little bit of this with mid lane, knowing that waves 1, 2, and 3 should go this way. This will be my first timing. When I hit this goal, that's when I get my mythic. And he's just looked from the eye test way more on top of that part of mid lane than anyone else is right now, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, and I mean, I think when you're looking at him transitioning over, the ability to rely on a coaching staff that he does like trust. And also, I know that he has excellent communication with these guys already, having kind of been part of that initial C9 scouting package.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the value of having a lot of positional coaches in your team. So that's just like a major point for everybody, like, LCS teams, is that like, especially if you're making this change, like being able to have someone that's working with you in solo queue, so a lot, or just in scrims as well, where a lot of these choices are intentional. Just taking a look at this game, I mean, it was a stomp. Great ultimate there from Sven, just finding it straight through the team to be able to get that pick. But this game was just so hard from the perspective of TSM Academy, and a lot of it was just based off of like, you can't punch through a lot of these players. This fight was just poorly picked because of the corridor they were fighting through.
Well, they weren't even they were 5v4 in that
Yeah.
fight. C9 was. Darshan wasn't even there. He TP's in later, right? I think the big thing I really liked, just to go back to, C9's composition, how we talked about it, and in what kind of setups I like the Jhin, it's when you can have CC to try to help set up how much range he gives you in these fights. And we're going to see a fight coming up later on at Drake, where I also want to give Darshan credit for, I know on Cast they talked about the lane aspect of it, but I thought Darshan did an excellent job of also being able to track the Tryndamere. True, they're ahead, but you have to keep track of where he's going to be able to flank, especially with both Akali and Tryndamere. They can easily flank the Jhin if you don't have such vision control like what you talked about before, Raz.
Yeah, I thought the vision this game was perfect, and to your point, like Darshan did a great job of being able to trace where the Tryndamere was. There was a dragon fight where he was, like, he had the option to flank, so I'm sure he was interested in that, but the moment he saw Tryndamere, he was like, I'm just gonna mess with you. Like, it's just you and me. And then on side lane, it was always gonna be difficult, especially with the build that he has. It was a really smart build, going in Frozen Heart on that one first. And then, like, of course, delaying the Mythic, which is smart if you're going onto a tank Mythic item. So good job over there for Darshan, and as a team, this is their cleanest game.
I gotta be honest, I just never saw a way for TSM's comp to win that.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Like, at least anecdotally so far, we've seen people trying to break out of control metas with like melees mid Akali or there's a carry top laner, but it's generally been the underdog trying it. So even if the underdog was playing meta, they'd still probably lose those games. But I agree with you. These comps have not looked good. 4 melee champions into the Victor Leona didn't seem like it was gonna work.
Yeah, and like, the Gragas was a great pick. So like, even when we were going through the draft, I was like, well, you know, there's the possibility of like playing through sides if everything is even early on. But in team fights, it was always going to be difficult. If you find that window, the idea is if you can find that window in lane as the Akali, but you get, he got shut down once again here.
Yeah.
I think Fudge played around that very well. But you also have Leona and your jungler that's going to be there, Xin Zhao, helping.
Right. There's always a world and a circumstance or an environment in which a team composition can win.
Yes.
Right? It's just a matter of getting to those circumstances. And I think that's
It's hard, Dash.
I looked at the TSM comp here and I was like, okay, I can see a scenario where they win. I just don't know how they get themselves into that scenario. That's neither here nor there. It's Cloud9 looking good here at 3-0. Only matchup they have left is that 100 Thieves matchup. So if, again, as Blabber himself says, doesn't really feel like they've been tested. So we wait on bated breath. Next Friday is when that one will
reschedule it to today.
No, I won't do it. Actually, I don't even think I have that power.
Good.
I wish I did.
Unlucky.
I'm going to petition for that kind of power going into the next year. For now, though, we're going to a break. When we come back, it's EG taking on Immortals. We'll see you soon.
Initializing legendary moments.
Take a look while you can, because if you blink, you'll miss it.
I'm sure you've heard the news.
Gold, gold, and more gold.
Here comes the big play. Oh, that's perfect timing. You can see this one coming. They get what they need. They got the mid. They got the support. They got the top.
Are they gonna give you some fun League of Legends? Yes, sir.
Yeah. Welcome to the LCS.
FTX, official cryptocurrency exchange partner of the LCS.
Sequence complete.